Hello, Paycheck Lovelies. Hopping on here today, I'm going to be doing my November budget overview, or excuse me, recap. This is all of the information about how I close out my budget. This is a very long video, but it really does share with you that process and what that looks like. I feel that some people find this part of the budgeting process somewhat overwhelming, and I really wanted to share with you what that looks like, how it's not too difficult once you get started, and how much valuable information it can bring to you and your budgeting awareness. So I hope that you'll watch, and as always, if you have any questions, make sure you leave me a comment below. So doing something a little different today, I have yet to close out my November budget. I am a little behind in that, but that is okay because we are going to play catch up today. And I'm going to take you through my entire closeout process and what that looks like. I think that for some individuals, the closing out of the budget is the most challenging part. And so people tend to skip it, but there is so much valuable information that you can gain from doing the analysis at the end of every month. Which then makes the analysis at the end of the year much easier and much more insightful. And I will be doing a video about that as well. So stay tuned for that. So let's hop in. So this is November now. I use my paycheck planner on my iPad. I enjoy having it electronically like that. It's compact. I can take it with me everywhere that I go. And that's how I choose to use mine. However, the Paycheck Planner is printable. It is a PDF file. You can print it out on 8.5 by 11, or you can switch that to A4 by printing 2 to a page. Whatever works for you and makes you, whatever process that you look. So this is what it looks like when it's printed out. So I also wanted to give you that view so you could kind of see the pages a little bit more up close. I have not yet mastered filming the iPad without that horrible glare. So we're going to do the paper version for this. So this is the monthly dashboard that is in every single month in the Paycheck Planner. This allows you to track your starting balance. So this was my starting balance at the very beginning of November. However, that starting balance includes rollover money, which is money that I'm intentionally moving over into November from October for bills or any transactions that I will be using in November. But this is money that was earned in October, so I'm rolling that over. And it also includes my cushion. So this is an amount that I leave in my checking account at all times. I personally, my comfort level for my cushion is $1,000, so I was a little bit below target. So that was a focus for me in November, was getting that back up to $1,000. The reason for a cushion is I use a zero-based budget. But using a zero-based budget does not mean that your balance in your checking account has to get down to zero. It just means that you're giving every single dollar a job or a purpose in your budget. There's a plan for it. So for me, this cushion is for unexpected expenses that come up, or let's say that, I budgeted $290 for my electric bill and it actually ended up being $312, for example. I have that cushion there to make up that difference so that it doesn't throw my budgeting plan completely out of whack. There's a section here for your top 3. You can list out what's important to you for the month, what you want to focus on, any special events. Also have, if there's a monthly challenge that you're participating in, you can track your no spend days. I'm not very good at that, but I'm going to challenge myself to do better in 2021. Must-dos. So for me, must-dos are different from a to-do list. A to-do list is just things that, you need to get done, but there isn't necessarily any particular priority that needs to happen in. Must-dos mean that these things must be completed by the end of this month in order for you to be successful going into the following month. So that's what I use this section for. I have a note section down here, changes to make, and upcoming expenses. So in here, I quit smoking in November. super excited. And so now all of the money that I normally would have put into that envelope, that money is now going in my Las Vegas sinking fund envelope for a trip that I have coming up in April. Changes that I want to make. So I noticed as I was going through this year that I want to change my categories and how I track my spending in a few areas. One thing that I noticed is that my miscellaneous category kind of became a catch-all. If I didn't have a category name for it, then I just put miscellaneous. But I was really losing the ability to analyze that spending by having such a broad category. So I already made some changes for 2020 in regards to that, but I really won't get the full impact of those changes until 2021, where I can do it consistently for the entire year. Upcoming expenses in December, we have Christmas, and then my one of my son's birthdays, and then in January my daughter's birthday, and then April we have that Las Vegas trip that I'm planning for. So I love this dashboard. This is probably one of my favorite pages in the Paycheck Planner, and that is just because it really does bring everything in your life to the forefront in a very quick, referenceable way. Next is your month at a glance. So this is November at a glance. This is your paycheck, your monthly bill overview, as well as, life events, holidays, things of that nature. So like I said, I use my paycheck planner on my iPad. So I've printed this out. This was created on my iPad as far as the stickers and the highlighting. But there's something important I want to point out here. So I got a paycheck on the 1st. I also received a paycheck on the 13th, and then I received another paycheck on the 27th. So I highlight whatever bills I'm paying with each paycheck. I highlight in that color. That allows me to quickly see what paychecks I'm using for which bills, so that when I start working on my paycheck budget, I can very quickly take that, look at this calendar, and know exactly which bills I need to make sure I include, or events. You can see here I have birthdays, holidays, things that I know I'm going to spend money on, things like that. So that is all here on this overview. Once I finish closing out, I will come back and I will fill this in. My total income for November, my total expenses for November, and my total savings for November, and what my credit score check-in is. This allows me very quickly at glance, if I needed to flip back through a few different pages, I could look at that and see what those kind of snapshot numbers were for each month throughout the year. This is my paycheck budget. This is from the paycheck that I got on the 1st. So I have a budgeted amount. So this is what I anticipated I was going to be spending. And then I go back in and I fill in the actual. So for me, I color code that. If my actual was more than what I budgeted, it's going to be red. If it was less than what I budgeted, it's going to be blue. The reason why this is important to go back and do is because this is a plan, right? We want every single dollar to have a plan. So when I planned, I originally, mind you, my plan changed, but originally when I did it, I thought I was going to move $491 to my savings account. That was my plan for this remainder amount of money. Well, I had some other things that I ended up spending on, so I had to adjust that. You see that here. I didn't have anything in my miscellaneous category, and I ended up having $690 in my miscellaneous category. But that left me, instead of $491, I had $135 left over, and I chose to leave that in there for my cushion because, like I said, that was my goal for November, was to get that cushion back up to $1,000. So in here, there was a pretty big change. This is November 13th. Again, anything that was more, there it's red. If it was less, it was blue. So originally, I had budgeted that I would have $105 left over. Well, because of some bills being less, some bills being more, once the dust settled and it was everything had posted that was going to clear for this paycheck, I actually had $241 left over. not 105. So I was actually able to contribute more to this particular goal, which in this case was my cushion. I was able to add an additional $240 to my cushion. And then my paycheck on November 27th, the same thing. My budget amount as the bills started coming out, what actually came out, and then what I ended up with. Again, I had budgeted 75. I thought my plan was that I had $75 for miscellaneous, but it actually ended up being 413. So again, had to make some adjustments as I was going through, which is fine. But it changed what I had left over. So that's what's good about filling in your budgeted. This is your plan. But then going back and truly filling in your actual, what actually happened in your real life. What were those numbers at the end of the day? And it allows you to decide what to do with those numbers. Depending on how much you have left over, it may make a difference as to where you put that money. So again, that's why I do the budgeted column and the actual column. Now, this is my spending tracker. This is from my cash envelopes. I think I actually have 2 pages. Yep, 2 pages of cash envelopes. And I use the highlighter method. So like transactions are highlighted in like colors. So as you can see, dining out there, got quite a few of those. I use the category color key. This little key is also included in the PDF download of the Paycheck Planner so that you can annotate what colors represent which categories. So that when you're down here, you don't have to take up a lot of very valuable space writing out every category every time. You just fill in the bubbles with the appropriate color and then what was the amount spent in that category. So this first little bubble here for me is any business expenses that I have. I didn't have any. This next one here is going to be dining out. I had a total of 216. So anything that was highlighted with this color here, I add that up and I get 216. And I go through and I do that for each and every one of my categories. For my cash spending, as well as my checking account. Now, there's some categories that I only ever have amounts in cash. And then there's categories that I only ever have amounts in my checking account. Because, for example, my utilities, I don't pay my utilities in cash ever. So my utility category in my cash spending is always going to be 0, whereas it's going to be the amount here. It's up to you how you choose to use the category totals. If you only want to fill in the bubbles that you know that you used that month or that you only use for your cash spending, do that. Same thing with your checking account. For me, I just like the consistency of having it all filled in. So that's how I choose to do it. So now for closing out, so we flip through this, we get through all of our spending for the month of November. And we come to our November recap. So November recap is several pages that allow us to analyze our spending. So this first one here compares our November income to October's income and what that change may have been. And please, mind you, this is not all earned income. This is sinking funds that I'm using in the month. This is my paychecks as well as money that I get for my husband for his part of the mortgage. Like there's a lot that's included in this. This is not just what I get from work. Now in October, there was definitely some sinking funds that were used. We had an unexpected trip to New York, as well as I had a third paycheck in the month of October. So that number is very inflated. This is my debt summary. So any debt that I'm currently paying off, what that total is, what my minimum payment is, and then if I would have made any extra debt payments, I would have listed those out here. Total debt paid for the month is your total from column A and from column B to get this number, and that shows you how much in total you paid towards debt in the month. I've been focusing on my emergency fund, my 6-month emergency fund. I call it my 4 walls emergency fund. So that's why I didn't make any additional debt payments in the month of November. Here I have my emergency fund, which my comfort level for that is 5,000. That is fully funded, so I didn't have to contribute to that. My general savings, that's the 4 walls, the 6 months of living expenses that I'm focusing on currently. I sent 200 there. My 401k, sinking funds, and any challenges that I participated in the month. And then I just look at that percentage. So for the month of November, I sent $1,399 to savings in these various areas. Spending overview. Now, in the Paycheck Planner, I give you 2 different versions of this spending overview. This is called the list version. You literally just list out your various categories, what your budget was for the month, and then we're going to go in and find out what we actually spent. The other version is, I call it the pictorial version. So all of these little icons correspond to the same icons that we see here on our paycheck budgets. And then there's some extra ones as we get into our variable spending and all of that. But this allows us to very quickly, oh, this is my tithing, my debt, my utilities, my household, so on and so forth. I personally prefer this view. However, I put a poll up in Instagram when I was creating the Paycheck Planner and asked, which was the preference, the list version or the pictorial version? And it very much was 50-50, so I decided to include both. Now, something that I will be going over in another video is my end of year analysis. So this is your annual spending overview. So this is how much you spent for the entire year, all in one place. And it resembles, this layout of this mimics the pictorial versions throughout the rest of the planner. So I just like having that the same way. So I fill out the list version for demonstration purposes only for me, so that for these videos, to be perfectly honest, but this is what I truly use and enjoy, is the pictorial layout. But they're both in there. You do not have to fill out both. You just pick the version that you like better and you use that one. So in order to get these actuals, we have to add up what we spent on our trackers. And when you are using it as a printed version, not such a difficult task because you can flip through. But for me, when I'm on my iPad, I'm flipping through different screens. So I do use what I call the category closeout tally, so that I can just flip through and write it down and then come up with the total. So this first one here is business. On this first sheet, I don't have anything. So don't need to write anything down. Don't have any expenses here. I had $3.62. So I'm going to write $3.62. On the next sheet, I have $29.75. And on the last page, I have $66.43. So the total spent in that category, I budgeted $10, but I actually spent $99.80. So then I take my budgeted amount minus my actual. So that is a difference of $89.80. I will go through and do that for each and every category. So let's do one more together. So this is my dining out category, a little bit larger numbers here. So we have $216 on this first page. $146 on the next page. $12 on this page. $70.17 on this page. And nothing here. So that total is $444.17. So for dining out, budget was $400, actually spent $444.17 for a difference of $44.17. And I'm also going to include that over here. So first one was business, so I find that here. Actual spent was $99.80. And that was a difference of $89.80. And then in dining out, it was $44.17 for a difference of $44.17. And then once I have this all completed, I'll go in and do my percentages. Something else I want to point out is that your starting balance, so that's what when our dashboard comes in handy, that starting balance, that is, we're going to count that as income in the month of November because we've rolled that over, right? But remember, our cushion is in there also, but you may have spent money out of your cushion. So starting balance plus any income that you have received during the month. So something else that I like about the spending trackers in the Paycheck Planner is there's a section here for you to total out your income. So didn't have any income in this on this cash envelope tracker, no income here. But in checking, there was income, and that total on this sheet, I can put that right here. So it makes it very quick to add that up. Here, there was income, so I add that up. And then no income here. So that's where this number came from. And then, like I said, once I get this all filled out, I will then use that number and the actual numbers to come up with our percentages. So I'm going to finish that up and get all of this filled out, and then I'll be right back on. All right, so as you can see here, I have gone through and I have added up all of my spending from the different sheets, totaled those out. I've then added those here to my actual column, as well as the differences between what was budgeted and what was actually spent, and what percentage of my income that made up. So my total income, not necessarily earned income, but income for the month of November was my starting balance of $1926.22 plus income that came in from savings, sinking funds, paychecks, all of that was $9,080.12 for a total of $11,006.34. So when I add up all of my spending in the month of November, that puts me at $10,989. So $11,006 minus $10,989 is a difference of $17. Me personally, I don't go digging for the difference if it's under $20. If I'm over or under by less than $20, I just accept it as part of my rounding. As you can see here, all of my numbers here, there's no change. As well as when I'm doing my cash spending on my tracker, I always round up. So I'm always going to be a little bit off just because I don't track the change. I round up or round down. So 17, I'm good with that number. I also took this information and transferred it to the pictorial version just because this is what I'll use when I'm closing out at the end of the year. I prefer this version, but to each their own, which is why they're both is included in the Paycheck Planner. So I have all of that filled out as well for all of my categories. Then we get to our net worth, which is the last part of the analysis that I do every month. So I have all of my assets. So these are the things that I owe, or the value of the things that I have, versus what own versus what I owe. So credit card debt, student loan debt, vehicle loans, my mortgage, all of that good, lovely, fun stuff. So you have what you own, what is yours, or the value. So for example, my home, it's not paid off, so I have a balance due, but there is a value associated with that home as well. Same thing with my vehicle. I have a balance on it, but there's an associated value that if I were to trade it or sell it or whatever the case may be, so there is still a value. So those don't necessarily cancel each other out, but they coincide with one another. So I take my total assets minus my total liabilities, and that gives me my net worth. Now, you're thinking, oh, Winter, your net worth is negative. It's red, right? So yes, my net worth is negative right now, or at the end of November, my net worth is negative $14,060. But what's really drastic about that, my net worth in January was negative 46,321. So as you can see, I am definitely making progress in my net worth. My guesstimate, my goal, if you will, is that I will have a positive net worth sometime in 2021. This red number will go away and it will become black. So I'm very excited for that. In October, my net worth was negative 18,000. So I've already had an increase in my net worth of about $4,000. So that just shows that even though these numbers may not change so drastically month to month, when you look at it as a whole picture, a snapshot at this moment in time, this is what my worth is, which is much, much better than what it was in January of 2020. So that is my November closeout. The last thing that I do is I do a lot of duplication, but I like to view my data in multiple ways. Like I said, this sheet right here, I only fill out for you guys. This is not my preferred view of this information, but I do this so that you can see how to use this form. I recommend and suggest that you decide between the list version of the spending overview or the pictorial version of the spending overview. Whichever one you like, that is the one that you should use. You do not have to fill out both the list and the pictorial. Something else that I fill out, my category snapshot. Now these next several pages, I think there's 13 of them. This is not included in the download of the Paycheck Planner. This is an add-on that you can purchase. It is in the budget tools section of the Etsy shop. But what this does is it takes every category, and you get to see side by side what you spent and what percentage of your income that was for the entire year. This is what I'm going to be using when I do my final end of the year analysis. This is what I will use to determine what my new cash envelope amounts are going to be for my variable spending in 2021. For example, let me get over here. Groceries. I budget about $450. That's my half or my share of our grocery bill. As you can see, there's some fluctuation. I could average this out and come up with a new number. I could choose to keep it the same, but I can see everything, the entire year, 2020, all in one place, all just laid out for me. Dining out. I currently budget $400. There's a lot of variation month to month. Maybe I should look at altering that amount going into 2021. Same thing with my fun. I've noticed I don't really use my fun envelope. I don't do a lot of fun activities that I use cash for. It tends to come out of my checking account. So is this a category that I want to keep as a cash envelope in 2021? That's what I'll be deciding. Beauty. I put away $60 a paycheck or $120 a month into my beauty envelope. And as you can see, I rarely am coming close to that number. Now, September was excessively high because we had been in COVID and I hadn't done anything with my hair for quite some time and I had some catching up to do. But nonetheless, that's a budget category that I may really want to look at Is $60 a paycheck really a necessary amount? Could I lower that and use that money somewhere else? So I really enjoy looking at it this way. So I do move my numbers over into this view, because this is part of what I will use at the end of the year when I'm going through that final end of year analysis. This is your annual overview. This particular page is included in the PDF of the download of the Paycheck Planner. This allows you to see your monthly income, your savings balance, your retirement account, and your debt balance and your net worth all in one place that you can see and compare month to month. When I do, you'll see these varying colors here, but I'm a very visual person. So if my income was more than the month before, I put it in red. If it was less than the month before, I put it in blue. And same thing for every other category. I do that for each one. So like, for example, in November, my income was less than it was in October. My savings balance was more than it was in October, though. My retirement account was more than it was in October. My total debt balance was less, and my net worth was more. It's a lower number, but these are negative numbers, so it's a higher value. So this overview right here, this is included in the Paycheck Planner. This is the annual spending overview. So the category snapshots allow you to look at your expenses in that category every single month to compare. The annual spending overview just tells you how much you budgeted and actually spent throughout the whole year on that category. So in total, what did I spend? This is also included in the Paycheck Planner. This version is included. Holiday spending overview. This is something new that I'm incorporating this year. This is also a add-on download that is available in the Etsy shop. So I have a holiday category in my budget. I don't have a budget for each individual holiday, and I really wanted to look at how much am I spending in each holiday. Am I actually budgeting an appropriate amount when I'm doing that, whether I'm cash flowing it or I have a sinking fund or whatever the case may be? Am I coming close to being on track? So I'm going to be doing that this year when I do my end of year closeout. And then ultimately I will be able to compare this year over year to see, you know, what the trends are for each particular holiday in general. This is the sinking fund tracker that is also included in the Paycheck Planner. Just wanted to show you, give you an up close view of this. So you write the sinking fund name. I include the name and the year because I'm saving for 2021 already in some of these areas. So here you can see it's blacked out. That's because I saved it and I've used it. This taxes here, I rolled this. This was my property taxes for 2020. I paid those. I had an excess of $450. Usually what I'll do with this is I'll make an additional principal payment, but I decided to roll that into my sinking fund for my property taxes for 2021. So you see it here. And then I've started adding to that again. Christmas, you can see my plan is I'll be spending that this month. And then I have already started saving for next Christmas. So this is how I track my sinking funds in here. You know, I do have my cashless trackers that I use, or my sinking fund envelopes that I use that I've shown in the past. This is an example of one. So this is like Christmas 2021. And then as I add money, I do add that here, but this allows me to see all of my sinking funds in one place in real time to see what's going on with those and what adjustments, if any, I need to make, or what next one am I going to work on. So those are how I track my sinking funds. So that is a lot of information, I'm sure, more than I normally get to share over on Instagram, because I am limited to 10-minute videos. So I'm very excited that I got to go much more into detail with you over that November closeout. I will be doing this again for December's closeout. It will not be near this late because I will need that information to do that annual analysis, which I'll also be sharing with you. So please, if you are interested in seeing those videos, hit that subscribe button and turn on the little notification so that you get notified when those videos are up for your view. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. You can follow me on my Instagram, which is also at snowstamper_budgeting. As well, you can leave a comment there or DM me there. And as always, feel free, you can find any of these products that you see here in my Etsy shop, which is at snowstamperbudgeting.com. Until we meet again, happy budgeting.